Welcome back, the followers of Stoic Wisdom by Zeno. Have you ever walked into a room and felt invisible? You say something, and it's as if no one even hears you. But then there's that one person who says just a few words, and suddenly everyone is listening, hanging on every word, nodding along, respecting them. What's the difference? It's not about being louder, smarter, or more experienced. It's about how you speak, and it's about owning your power. I'm here to tell you that you don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to apologize for taking up space. And you sure don't have to shrink yourself to make others feel comfortable. It's time to stop letting others walk over you. Protect your peace, guard your space, reclaim your freedom to speak with confidence. Here's the hard truth. How you speak affects how people treat you. It shapes the way others see you, and even more importantly, it shapes how you see yourself. So, if you've ever felt like you're just not being heard or respected, it's time to take action. This isn't about tricks or gimmicks. This is about setting boundaries, owning your presence, and speaking with intention. If you've ever been ignored, talked over, or dismissed, it's time to stop being passive. Step back, take control, and speak in a way that commands respect. Trust me, it won't be easy, but nothing worth having ever is. I'm about to share with you some powerful ways to reclaim that respect, to make sure people don't just hear you, but truly listen. You deserve to be seen, heard, and respected. So take a deep breath, pay attention, and let's get started. If this resonates with you, if you're ready to level up, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. What's one change you're going to make to start speaking with power today? It's time to take back control. Let's do this. Number 1. Are you speaking with purpose or just filling the air? What if I told you that how you speak could change the way people treat you instantly? That the words you choose, the way you hold your ground, and even the pauses you take can shift the balance of respect in any room. It's all about speaking with purpose. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. What does it even mean to speak with purpose? It's simple. Speaking with purpose means being intentional about what you say, how you say it, and why you're saying it. It's about not just filling the air with words, but letting every word carry weight. When you speak with purpose, people start paying attention. They listen because they know that what you're saying matters. It's easy to fall into the trap of just talking for the sake of talking. We've all been there. In a meeting, on a date, or even with friends, we sometimes speak just to fill the silence. We try to keep the conversation going, but we forget that silence isn't the enemy. The real enemy is saying things that don't add value, things that don't mean anything, and worse, things that make us seem unsure of ourselves. You know the feeling. Constantly rambling, second-guessing your words, and worrying if people are paying attention. Let's be real. It doesn't feel good, does it? When you speak with purpose, it's not about saying a lot. It's about saying the right things. It's about cutting through the noise and offering something meaningful. Stoic philosophy teaches us to be mindful of our words. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoics, said, "Let your words be like your actions, clear, deliberate, and done with integrity." This is where the power lies. If you're not mindful of your words, people won't take you seriously. They'll sense that you're unsure, that you're just saying whatever comes to mind, and that's when they stop listening. Think about it. How many times have you been in a conversation and felt like the other person was just talking to fill the space? They weren't saying anything of value, and it made the whole interaction feel hollow. Now imagine being that person, filling every silence, babbling on because you don't want to be seen as quiet or boring. But the truth is, it's not the silence you should fear. It's the lack of substance in what you say. Let me give you a personal story. A few years ago, I was in a meeting where I felt like I had to prove myself. I was constantly talking, trying to fill every gap with my ideas and opinions, even though I wasn't sure they were that great. I didn't want to seem unprepared or disengaged, but after the meeting, my manager pulled me aside and said something that stuck with me. You don't need to fill the air with words. When you speak less and with more intention, people will listen more. That hit me hard. I realized I had been talking just for the sake of talking. My words lacked purpose, and as a result, they lacked respect. So, what did I do? I started being more intentional. I stopped worrying about filling every silence, and instead, I focused on saying only what truly mattered. I started to pause before speaking, to think about my words, and to make sure they were clear, concise, and meaningful. You know what happened? People started paying more attention. They respected me more because they knew when I spoke, I had something valuable to say. It wasn't about the number of words. It was about the quality of those words. You can do this too. The next time you're in a conversation, take a moment to ask yourself, what is the purpose of what I'm about to say? Speak with clarity. Speak with conviction. Don't just speak to fill the air. Speak to make a point. The world needs fewer people filling space with empty words and more people who speak with intention. So, here's your challenge. The next time you find yourself in a conversation, pause. Let the silence settle for a moment. Then speak, and speak with purpose. Reclaim the power of your words. Trust me, when you do, people will start to see you in a whole new light. Respect follows intention, and intention is the root of meaningful communication. If you've found these tips on speaking with authority and respect valuable, imagine how they could change your life just by shifting the way you communicate. We're here to provide content that empowers you to level up, reclaim your voice, and protect your peace. So if you believe this could make a difference for someone else too, like, subscribe, and share it with those who need to hear this message. And don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep the conversation going and learn from each other's experiences. Your voice matters, and we're here to help you make it heard. Number 2. Why do you keep apologizing for just existing? Stop diminishing yourself. How often do you catch yourself saying sorry for things that don't deserve an apology? A small mistake at work, a minor delay, or even just being in someone's way. Sorry, sorry, sorry. It's as if we're programmed to shrink, to apologize for taking up space in the world. Why do we do this? And more importantly, how can we stop? If you've ever felt like people don't take you seriously, or you've been brushed aside even after giving your best, it's time to face the truth. Constantly apologizing is one of the quickest ways to lose respect, your own and others. It sends a clear message. I'm not worthy of being here. You might not even realize you're doing it, but every unnecessary sorry is like a tiny chip in your foundation of self-respect. Let me take you back to a moment in my life when I had to confront this. I was at a meeting trying to share an idea when someone interrupted me. And guess what my knee-jerk response was? Oh, sorry, go ahead. Why was I apologizing for someone else's interruption? I was doing exactly what I tell people not to do. I was making myself small. And guess what happened after that? I lost their respect, not because of what I said, but because of how I said it. I apologized for taking up space. I apologized for being interrupted. I apologized for existing. But here's the thing. You don't have to apologize for living. You don't have to apologize for having an opinion. And you definitely don't have to apologize for making mistakes. We all make mistakes. It's called being human. But when you keep apologizing for things that don't require an apology, you're telling the world that your presence is a problem. And that, my friend, is where you lose respect. Think about it this way. Imagine you're at a dinner party and someone is constantly apologizing. Sorry, I'm late. Sorry, I didn't bring anything. Sorry, I took the last piece of bread. At some point, those apologies feel empty, don't they? You start to wonder if this person even knows their own worth. The constant sorry is exhausting. The same goes for your daily interactions. When you keep apologizing for things that don't warrant it, you become someone others don't take seriously. It's not just about how others perceive you, it's about how you see yourself. Every time you say sorry unnecessarily, you're telling yourself, I'm not enough. You're telling yourself that you don't deserve to take up space. And when you keep doing that, people will start to believe it too. Here's the hard truth. If you don't stand tall, no one will see you standing at all. So, what can you do instead? Start by ditching the reflex apology. The next time you're about to say sorry for something that doesn't require an apology, stop and ask yourself, do I really owe anyone an apology, or am I just trying to make myself smaller? Reframe the moment. Instead of saying, sorry I'm late, try, thanks for waiting. Instead of saying, sorry to bother you, say, do you have a moment? Small shifts in language, but huge shifts in how you are perceived. This isn't about being rude or dismissive. It's about owning your presence. It's about recognizing that you have the right to be here, to take up space, and to voice your thoughts. Respect isn't earned through constant apologies. It's earned through confidence and the ability to stand firm in your convictions. Your voice matters, your time matters, and your presence, it absolutely matters. So I challenge you, next time you're about to apologize for something trivial, stop. Reclaim your space. Speak your truth. Protect your peace. And trust me, people will start listening. When you stop apologizing for your existence, you'll start commanding respect in ways you never imagined. What's one thing you'll stop apologizing for today? Let me know in the comments, and let's build a community of people who are ready to stop shrinking and start speaking with power. Number 3. Are you willing to set boundaries and protect your peace? Let's get real for a second. If you're not setting boundaries, you're not respecting yourself. And without self-respect, how can you expect others to treat you with the respect you deserve? This is a tough lesson, but it's one that's essential for your peace of mind, your happiness, and ultimately for the way others will see you. Boundaries are often misunderstood. They're not about shutting people out or being rude. They're about teaching others how to treat you, showing that your time, energy, and well-being are not for the taking. Imagine your life as a garden. Would you let anyone walk in and trample your flowers? You'd build a fence, set limits, and protect what you've worked so hard to cultivate. Your peace is just as valuable, and it's time to start guarding it like you would your most precious possession. Here's the thing. When you don't set boundaries, you're sending a message that you don't value yourself enough to say no. You might think you're being helpful or nice, but in reality, you're teaching others that it's okay to take advantage of you. I've been there. I used to say yes to everything, stretching myself thin just to keep others happy. The result? I felt drained, resentful, and completely out of balance. Take a moment and think about your own life. How many times have you agreed to something you didn't want to do just to avoid a confrontation? How often have you let people overstep because you didn't want to seem difficult or selfish? We've all been there. But here's the hard truth. When you let others push your boundaries, you're not being selfless. you're being spineless. I'll tell you about a time I learned this the hard way. I had a close friend who always asked for favors last minute. I'd drop everything to help because I didn't want to let them down. But after a while, I started to notice that my needs were being ignored. One day, I decided enough was enough. I told them I couldn't help with something because I had other plans. The guilt trip followed. I thought you were someone I could count on. For a second, I almost caved, but then I remembered. This wasn't about me being a bad friend. It was about me protecting my time and peace. I stuck to my boundary, and guess what? They figured it out, and we're still friends. Setting boundaries isn't easy. People will get upset. Some might even think you're being selfish. But I promise you, if you don't set boundaries, you're just inviting chaos into your life. I had another experience at work where a coworker kept dumping last-minute tasks on me. At first I'd say, "Sure, no problem." But soon I realized it was becoming a pattern. They'd ask, I'd say yes, and then feel overwhelmed while they went about their day. One night, after staying late to finish their mess, I had an epiphany. Why was I letting their lack of organization interfere with my life? So the next time they asked for help, I said, "I can't help with that right now. You'll need to figure it out." Were they upset? Of course. But did they handle it? Absolutely. And I walked out of the office on time for the first time in weeks. The bottom line is this. Boundaries aren't about being mean. They're about showing people and yourself that your time, your energy, and your peace matter. When you don't value your own limits, no one else will. It's a simple law of life. Now, here's a piece of advice. Practice saying no. Start with small things, like turning down an invitation you don't want to attend. The more you do it, the easier it gets, and you'll start to notice something. People will respect you more for it. They'll see you as someone who knows their worth. They'll stop walking all over you, and your peace will be protected. Don't wait for someone else to set boundaries for you. It's your responsibility to protect your peace. If you don't, you're leaving the door wide open for people to take advantage of you. So, start now. Set your boundaries, own your space, and reclaim your freedom. Because once you do, you'll see the world and the people around you in a whole new light. Number 4. Why are you filling the silence? Don't you know the power of pausing? You've been there, right? You're in the middle of a conversation and there's a pause. It's awkward. Your brain starts to panic. Say something. Say anything. You keep talking, adding more words, trying to fill up the empty space, thinking that if you don't keep talking, people will think you're unsure, or worse, boring. But here's the thing. That pause is power, and it's time to stop running from it. In our world, where everything happens fast, we've been conditioned to think that speed equals strength, confidence, and intelligence. The faster you talk, the smarter you sound, right? Wrong. The real power? It's in the pause. Let me put this in perspective. Imagine listening to your favorite song. Now, picture it with no breaks, just non-stop noise. It would overwhelm you, right? But those moments of silence, the pauses between the beats, that's what makes the music come alive. They create rhythm. They make each note stand out. Your words are the same. If you're always talking, always rushing, your words become background noise. No one really listens. But when you pause, when you give the space for your words to sink in, people pay attention. They start listening, not just hearing. Now, I get it. Pausing can feel unnatural. In fact, I was the worst at it. I used to believe that if I wasn't constantly talking, I'd lose control of the conversation, or worse, be seen as weak. I thought that silence would make me look uncertain, so I filled every gap, sometimes with more words than were needed. But I soon realized, the more I talked, the less people listened. It wasn't until my manager pulled me aside after a meeting and said, "You've got great ideas, but you don't give people time to process them," that I realized how wrong I was. It was my wake-up call. That's when I understood the true power of pausing. Let me share a personal story. I was giving a presentation at work, one I had prepared for weeks. I had all my facts, all my points lined up perfectly, and yet I kept rushing through it, talking faster and faster, hoping that if I just explained everything, everyone would be impressed. But I wasn't giving people a chance to process what I was saying, so I slowed down. I deliberately added pauses. I let the room breathe between points. And you know what happened? At the end of the presentation, someone came up to me and said, "That was so impactful. I felt like every word mattered." That's when I knew. Silence wasn't my enemy, it was my ally. Here's the truth. When you pause, you show that you trust yourself. You trust that what you're saying is important enough to stand on its own. A pause isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It shows that you're confident enough to let your words settle, to let them have their impact. It's about being deliberate. It's about giving your audience the space to think, to reflect, to truly hear you. Now, some of you might be thinking, but if I pause, people might think I'm unsure or lost. Here's the hard truth. If you don't pause, you're the one who's missing out. You're robbing yourself of the opportunity to be heard. You're rushing through something valuable, and in doing so, you're making it harder for others to appreciate your message. People don't respect words that are rushed. They respect words that are measured, intentional, and thoughtful. So, the next time you're speaking and there's a pause, don't panic. Don't fill it. Embrace it. Let your words have time to settle in the space. Trust that your audience will catch up, that they'll lean in, that they'll give you the respect you deserve because you gave them the time and space to truly listen. This, my friends, is how you take control of the room. This is how you command respect. Step back, breathe, and let the silence work its magic. Because when you master the pause, you don't just earn respect, you own the room. So the next time you're tempted to fill that gap, stop. Trust the pause. Your words will speak louder than you ever could if you keep talking. If you found these tips on speaking with authority and respect valuable, imagine how they could change your life, just by shifting the way you communicate. We're here to provide content that empowers you to level up, reclaim your voice, and protect your peace. So, if you believe this could make a difference for someone else too, like, subscribe, and share it with those who need to hear this message. And don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep the conversation going and learn from each other's experiences. Your voice matters, and we're here to help you make it heard. 5. Are you speaking to be heard or just to be noticed? How many times have you spoken in a room only to feel like your words just bounced off the walls? You know, the times when you say something and it's like no one even acknowledges that you're there. Or worse, they hear you, but they don't really listen. Here's the truth. If you want respect, you need to speak in a way that demands attention, not by being loud, but by being intentional. This is something I've had to learn the hard way. I used to talk just to fill the silence, to be part of the conversation, to get noticed. It wasn't about the quality of what I said. It was more about being heard. The irony. It usually just made me seem like I was trying too hard. I'd throw in words, one after another, hoping something would stick. But let's be real, No one respects someone who's just filling space. It's like a cluttered room, chaotic, noisy, but lacking any real meaning. So, how do you fix this? First, you need to ask yourself, are you speaking to truly connect or just to fill a void? The key is in the intention behind your words. If you're speaking just to be noticed or to keep up with the conversation, you're doing it wrong. You're not owning your space. You're just trying to be heard over the noise. That's not respect. That's just noise. Think about a time when someone spoke in front of you and every word they said had weight. It wasn't because they were loud. It was because they made every word count. They didn't rush through their sentences. They spoke with purpose. It felt like their words had a deeper meaning, like they were trying to communicate something important, not just fill the silence. When you speak with purpose, people lean in. They start listening because they know you're not wasting their time. That's respect. People listen to those who make their words matter. Take a moment and reflect. How often do you find yourself filling gaps in conversation or trying to throw in a point just to have something to say? When was the last time you really paused before speaking and made sure your words were serving a purpose? If you can't answer that, it's time to start practicing silence. The most powerful moments are often the quiet ones, the pauses between your thoughts that give weight to what comes next. A good example of this is the way great speakers and leaders operate. They don't talk for the sake of talking. When they speak, they're intentional. They think about what they're going to say and how it'll affect the people listening. Their words aren't just noise. They're like a carefully placed stone in a pond, creating ripples that last. That's how you earn respect. You speak with purpose, with meaning, and with the clear understanding that your words have power. Now, I know this is easier said than done. I get it. Sometimes we're all guilty of speaking just to be heard, but the challenge is to break out of that habit. Instead of talking because you feel the need to fill every pause, start questioning every word that comes out of your mouth. Are you adding value or are you just adding noise? Here's a simple exercise. Next time you're in a conversation, stop and listen. Really listen. Not just to respond, but to understand. Then, when you speak, make sure your words are coming from a place of genuine thought. Speak to connect. Speak to offer something meaningful. Speak to be understood, not just heard. People will notice, and most importantly, you will start to notice the respect you've been craving. So, next time you're about to speak, ask yourself, is this conversation worth my time? If yes, then make sure your words count. Speak with purpose, speak with intention, and most importantly, speak with the confidence that comes from knowing that your voice matters, not because it fills the air, but because it brings clarity, value, and respect. Number 6. Stop shrinking yourself. Why are you hiding? Why do we do this? Why do we constantly shrink ourselves, make ourselves smaller, just to fit into the spaces others create for us? Why do we apologize for existing, for taking up space, for having a voice? It's time to stop. It's time to stop shrinking yourself and start embracing your full presence. The world is waiting for you to show up, not as a shadow of yourself, but as the powerful, worthy person you are. We live in a world that often makes us feel like we have to apologize for being seen, heard, or noticed. Maybe you've walked into a room and felt like you needed to shrink down, make yourself smaller, so you wouldn't take attention away from others. Maybe you've held back your opinions, your ideas, because you didn't want to rock the boat or make others uncomfortable. But here's the truth. If you keep shrinking yourself, you will never truly be respected. People won't see you for who you are because you're not letting them. Think about it. How many times have you walked into a room and immediately apologized for being there? Sorry I'm late, sorry to interrupt, or even worse, sorry for existing. It's like you're giving away your power before you even have a chance to speak. You've already handed over your space to someone else, and in doing so, you've allowed them to determine how you're treated. But here's the lesson we all need to learn. Respect doesn't come from apologizing for being yourself. It doesn't come from shrinking down to fit into someone else's version of who you should be. Respect comes from owning your space, from standing tall in who you are, and from letting your voice be heard unapologetically. You are not a guest in the world. You belong here just as much as anyone else. Let me tell you about a time when I learned this lesson the hard way. A few years ago, I was at a meeting where I had a great idea, one I was really excited about. But when it came time to share, I hesitated. I was worried about how it might be received. Would they think it was stupid? Would they talk over me? So instead of speaking confidently, I whispered my idea in a small, apologetic voice, barely making eye contact. And guess what? They didn't listen. No one took me seriously. I had given away my space before I even opened my mouth. In that moment, I realized something. The next time I walked into a room, I didn't want to apologize for being there. I wanted to walk in like I owned the place, because, truth be told, I do. We all do. You have every right to take up space in this world. Your thoughts, your voice, and your presence matter. They are worth hearing, and they are worth respecting. I'm not saying you need to go around being arrogant or dismissive of others. That's not what it's about. It's about standing firm in your own worth. It's about setting boundaries with yourself and with others, saying, I am here and I am enough. When you start embracing your space, people will notice. They will start respecting you because you respect yourself first. The Stoics believed that we are responsible for how we carry ourselves in the world. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, often reminded himself that he should stand tall in his truth, no matter the circumstances. And you should do the same. Don't shrink to make others feel comfortable. Don't hide your light just to avoid attention. Embrace the fullness of who you are, because that's where true respect starts, from within. So, the next time you feel yourself shrinking, whether in a meeting, a conversation, or just in your everyday life, stop, pause, take a breath, stand tall. You have every right to be heard. You have every right to take up space, and you have every right to speak your truth. It's time to stop hiding. It's time to show up fully, unapologetically, and start claiming the respect you deserve. Number 7. Do you know how to command respect in every conversation? Have you ever been in a conversation and felt like you weren't being taken seriously? Maybe you were making a great point, but the person you were speaking to didn't seem to care. Or worse, they ignored you completely. That stings, doesn't it? You can feel invisible, like your words don't matter, even when you're speaking from the heart. But here's the hard truth. The way you speak plays a huge role in how people treat you. Mastering the art of self-respect in every conversation isn't about being rude, overbearing, or domineering. It's about knowing your worth and speaking from a place of confidence. It's about not apologizing for your opinions or shrinking to make others feel comfortable. It's about standing tall in your own truth and owning the power of your words. When you learn to speak with self-respect, you start to command respect from others. We've all been there. You're in a conversation, and maybe you feel like you're walking on eggshells. You're worried about stepping on someone's toes, so you speak softly, cautiously, maybe even apologize too much. You end up holding back, thinking it's polite. But here's the kicker. When you hold back, You're not just protecting other people's feelings, you're disrespecting your own. You're telling yourself that your words don't matter, that you're not worth listening to. That's not self-respect, it's self-sabotage. Imagine this, you're sitting in a meeting and someone interrupts you mid-sentence. You pause, apologize, and let them take over. Sound familiar? That's a habit that many of us fall into. But here's what you need to understand. You don't owe anyone an apology for speaking your mind. In that moment, you're not just being interrupted, you're being disrespected. And by apologizing, you're giving that disrespect permission to keep happening. But what if, instead of saying sorry, you simply said, "Excuse me, I wasn't finished"? That simple shift in language is enough to remind others that you deserve to be heard. And guess what? You'll start to feel more respected too. The Stoics taught us that our worth doesn't depend on how others see us. They believed that true self-respect comes from within, not from outside approval. You don't need to constantly seek validation or apologize for existing. Instead, you should focus on being true to yourself, acting with integrity, and speaking from a place of self-assurance. When you do that, the respect from others follows naturally. It's like planting a seed. You don't need to chase it, just nurture it and let it grow. Let's be real for a second. It's hard. It's hard to stop apologizing, to stop second-guessing yourself, to stop being afraid of what others think. But if you don't start believing in your own worth, no one else will. Every conversation is an opportunity to practice self-respect. Think of it like building a muscle. At first it might feel awkward, but with time, it becomes second nature. You'll start noticing how people treat you differently when you show up with a grounded sense of self-respect. I've been there myself, avoiding confrontation, shrinking back when I should have stood tall. But when I made a conscious effort to change how I spoke, something incredible happened. I started to feel stronger, more confident, and the people around me began treating me with the respect I deserved. No more being walked over. No more apologizing for my presence. It wasn't about being loud. It was about being clear. It was about saying what I meant and standing firm in my words. And let me tell you, that's a power no one can take away from you. So, here's the advice. Start with small changes. Stop apologizing for things that don't need an apology. Speak your truth, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. And remember, your voice matters. Every time you speak with respect for yourself, you're reinforcing that respect with others. They'll notice, and soon, they won't just hear your words, they'll feel the weight of them. You won't have to demand respect. It will simply be given to you. So, ask yourself, how can you start speaking today to show more respect for yourself? What's one conversation where you can take a step back, reclaim your voice, and start commanding the respect you deserve? This is your moment. Step into it. Step into number 8. Are you guarding your voice or letting it slip away? Speak with authority and intention. Think about the last time you spoke up. Did you say what you truly meant? Or did you find yourself shrinking, apologizing, or letting your words fade into the background? We've all been there, right? You say something, but it feels like the world isn't listening. You want respect, but somehow your voice gets lost in the noise. It's time to ask yourself, are you guarding your voice? Are you speaking with the authority and intention that command respect? Or are you letting your words slip away, weak and unnoticed? Here's the truth that no one tells you. Your voice is your power. And if you don't guard it, if you don't speak with intention, you'll find yourself in situations where no one listens, no one respects, and worst of all, you stop respecting yourself. So, Let's break it down. Guarding your voice doesn't mean being loud. It doesn't mean always having the perfect answer. It doesn't mean you have to dominate every conversation. What it does mean is that you own your words. You speak with clarity, with purpose, and with the belief that what you say matters. You know your worth, and your words reflect that. Imagine you're in a room full of people. One person is speaking, but they're apologizing for every little thing. Sorry to interrupt. Sorry, but I think... Now, imagine someone else in the same room. They speak with confidence, with authority, but without arrogance. They make their point, pause to let it sink in, and wait for the response. Who do you think commands more respect? Who do you think others are listening to? It's not the one apologizing for their existence. It's the one who owns the space they take up with their words. In Stoic philosophy, there's this powerful idea: control what you can control and let go of what you can't. You can't control how others react to your words, but you can control the way you speak. If you speak with intention, with calm authority, you'll start noticing the shift. People will listen. They will respect you. And most importantly, you will begin to respect yourself in a way that you never have before. Think about this. When you guard your voice, you're like a fortress. You don't let every opinion, every comment, and every passing judgment affect you. Instead, you stand firm, knowing that what you say has value. There's a reason why leaders, wise mentors, and confident individuals have such a magnetic pull. It's because they don't let their words be tossed around in the wind. They speak deliberately, knowing that every word is a reflection of who they are and what they stand for. Here's a personal example. I remember the first time I stood my ground in a meeting. I had an idea I knew was good, but everyone else was talking over me. For years I had let that happen. I'd sit back, listen, and let others take the stage. But that day, something clicked. I took a deep breath, raised my hand, and said, "I have something to add." My voice didn't waver. I wasn't apologizing for taking up space. And you know what? People stopped talking and listened. That moment changed everything for me. Guarding your voice is not about being rude or overbearing. It's about owning the space you occupy and expressing your thoughts with respect, for yourself and for others. Every time you speak with intention, you send a message. I respect myself, and I expect you to do the same. So, how do you do this? Simple. Next time you feel the urge to apologize before you speak, stop. Think about why you're saying it. If you're just trying to make yourself smaller, stop yourself. Speak with confidence. Reclaim your voice. Guard your words because they carry weight. In conclusion, guarding your voice and speaking with authority is not just about commanding respect. It's about honoring yourself. When you speak with intention, you create a space where your words matter. Remember, the power lies in owning your presence and expressing yourself confidently. Protect your peace, reclaim your voice, and don't let anyone silence you. If this resonated with you, give this video a like, subscribe for more empowering content, and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear about your own experiences. How do you guard your voice and speak with confidence? Let's continue this journey together.